Hey, my astrology babies, and welcome to your complementing elements astrology tutorial, where I am going over some basic steps to learning how to determine aspects. Throughout this tutorial, I'm going to be reading excerpts from my own ebook that I wrote regarding the aspects and how to identify and learning them. So let's get started. If you take a look at our beautiful board, you will see that we have our pretend natal chart on. This is my left, could be your right, whatever. Our pretend natal chart from the sun down to Pluto, and we also have a list on the right side of the elements. So reading an excerpt: the aspects, relationships, planet communication. All of these words and phrases are interchangeable and mean the same thing: the way in which the planets interact and affect one another. The aspects are important because they add depth to our horoscope. A planet's expression can change completely depending on its relationships. So just by reading that, we can understand why we want to know about our aspects, whether it's in our natal chart or an actual horoscope, or maybe a compatibility. Whatever type of astrology you are performing, you want to know, you want to be able to identify aspects. And this little technique that I'm about to show you can help you identify them in a fairly quick and an easy manner. Now, it doesn't go into too far detail regarding like the names of the aspects and really particular things about what they mean. This tutorial's goal is to be able to show you how to simply point out when two planets could possibly be in some type of easy flowing communication. Thus, we focus on complementary elements. Now, before we move forward, in order to understand this tutorial video, you will need some understanding of the planets and signs meanings. Alrighty, now like I said before, we are going to get into the aspects through the elements. Now, there are more than a few ways to determine aspects or if planets are in communication. Let's read an excerpt. When the planets talk or engage in a relationship, element is taken into consideration to determine the nature of their conversation. We don't need astrology to tell us that water and earth can be very good friends for obvious reasons, nor do we need it to show us that air and fire together can produce some interesting results. Just like in nature, in astrology, some elements naturally complement one another. These complementing elements have the potential to produce less stressful communication between the planets. Now, potential. Take a second to read what that says. That's when astrology can get a little tricky. So we know that we have been looking at this board that lists the elements, and we kind of can know what elements go with what just based off just nature. So let's begin to place them together. So I won't go into what each sign corresponds to. If you want to know that, you can wait till my ebook is released and we have a complete list of what each sign is. But I'm sure we're all smart women. We kind of get the gist of that. So the paper in front of you is kind of showing you what planets are in potential communication within our imaginary natal chart. So we have the fire element, Aries, which the Mercury is placed in, is in a potential relationship with Venus that is placed in Gemini, which is an air sign. Now, it's a little small in between them, but if you take a look, you can see that there is a symbol placed between them. And that symbol does represent the type of complementary relationship that these two signs form. Now, because these elements are complementary, but we know some elements may jig a little bit better with others. And so those signs are kind of letting astrologers and other readers know how well they're getting along. So I won't go too far in depth into like the names of the signs or of the the names of the aspects. That's for a whole nother video. So we'll just move right along. So we know that because Mercury is in the fire sign of Aries, it is going to go well with Venus that is in the air sign of Gemini. Now we can move along and see that the sun is placed in Taurus, which is an earth sign, and it could potentially form a good aspect or relationship with Pluto that is placed in Capricorn, which is also an earth sign. And we can look at the symbol in between them. That's pretty much stating that these two signs, because they are both earth signs, get along very, very, very well. It's very easy flowing because they both are in the symbol or in the element of earth. Now we move down our list and we can go back to Aries again, which our Mercury is placed in it is a fire sign. And we can look to our Mars, which is also placed in Aries. Now these are two fire signs, and we know fire and fire go very well together. Now, if we take a look at our teeny tiny symbol in between them, we'll see that this symbol is pretty much saying that these signs go so well together. These planets operate so well together that it's like they're speaking in unison. And we'll find that when whatever the element is, if it's in the same sign, that they are very, very well meshed together. So in this chart, Mercury and Mars form a very beautiful aspect. So moving along, you'll see our last aspect that we identified, but definitely not the last aspect in this chart, is Taurus, which is in the sun, which is in the earth sign of Taurus, in a potential relationship with the moon, which is in the water sign of Scorpio. Now, when we're just starting out, we can see that an earth sign and a water sign could potentially have a good relationship. But again, this is where astrology gets tricky, and that's where the potential comes in, because these two signs actually form a stressful element. And if you look at the symbol between them, you will see that that's actually signifying to astrologers and readers that these two planets are in a not so rad relationship. So that is where we need to be a tad bit careful, because there are things called natural opposites, and natural opposites do occur within complementary elemental pairs. And we go more into natural opposites and all of that within the ebook. So I hope that this helped out some of you. Like I said, this is a very short and sweet tutorial about finding the relationships using the elements. Now, and like I said, this is just a quick and simple way. There are other things that you need to determine to examine. There are other things that you need to examine to determine if these planets are actually in a relationship. This method just kind of gives you a snapshot of what could potentially be occurring. And after we take a snapshot, that's when we do have to take our steps further to confirm that there is indeed a relationship happening. But that is for another tutorial. I hope this helps you guys. Now get into your own natal charts, pull up your base natal charts or whatever is happening, and start to see what complementary pairs are forming with you. All right, my loves, until next time, keep your head in the stars and your feet on the ground. I love you.